This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monte Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at thetalkofmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com. That's questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Yes.
Hey,
Welcome
Carey
back,
Ann,
Jason.
welcome back. And we got Mr. Jason in the house.
How's it going, everybody?
Do.
It's always a pleasure.
Very good. And since we'll be very truthful, during this time, I should be now working at my house, but we are still pretending to be social distancing since we are batching the episodes together. So note that I am back to the office. I'm still not being quarantined mid-May, hopefully, right?
Thank you, Carey Ann.
We're excited. This is going to be an amazing show. But before we get started, because we have a very special guest, and I love when we get to add new guests to the show. They bring so much of
especially this one. This is an amazing guest, okay? I mean, he's amazing. We've had some guests
amazing.
Before, but he's amazing.
The bar has been raised. But before we get started, I wanted to quickly share with you and tell you all about our amazing sponsor, Music City Removal. They are the #1 junk removal service in Nashville for residential, commercial, and construction. They are experts in ridding you of junk. Their costs include labor and dumping fees without any hidden or added expenses. Whether you need a full clean out or just one item removed, they have you covered.
The Music City Removal team knows the importance and respect of trust while in someone else's home. They understand the inconvenience of junk left behind by previous homeowners and tenants and are determined to provide an affordable and customer-focused junk removal service that puts you first. For a free on-site estimate, just go to musiccityremoval.com. That's musiccityremoval.com.
Yes, because Music City Removal, because clutter ain't cute.
It ain't.
Clutter ain't cute there, Monty. Clutter ain't cute.
Clutter ain't
so why
cute.
don't you do the amazing introduction to our special guest today?
Well, I'm not sure that I'm worthy, Carey Ann, because this guy is incredible. I mean, you know that I've been in this business for 36 years. And you know that I had no training in the very beginning. I had to learn hand-to-hand combat out there and sometimes saying the right things, sometimes not saying the right things. I'm telling you, for our real estate listeners, real estate agent listeners today, we've got a real treat for you that this gentleman, if you can internalize his dialogues, his processes, his sequence, as he puts it in our trainings, I promise you this. It will escalate your business. It will increase the curve to success as never before. Mr. Ellis Grossman, will you join us, sir?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
We have some applause over there. Here we are. All right.
Oh, there you go.
The folks are going wild. People are going wild in the stands right now, Ellis. No, seriously, thank you. Thank you so much, brother, for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I know it's awesome to be a part of such an amazing group with just a bunch of rock stars.
Well, you're helping us become that, and that's one of the added values we talk about at Realty One Group Music City. And I'm not trying to put a plug in there, but I'll put a plug in there anyhow because, we do believe in constant learning. Jason continues to bring new insights and information here for us as one of our coaches in house and mentors of the mentors. It's just but also to have you as the added value that you bring to this organization goes without saying that we're just beyond blessed. And I'm looking forward to this class you're doing this week and future weeks. And I encourage those who are listening to this right now, be sure and take advantage of this man when you can start internalizing the things that he spent years putting together. Again, thank you so much, Ellis.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, in these role plays, we really focus on the process and really hearing and listening to our clients and customers and being able to find out exactly what they're looking for and trying to change lives through real estate. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity we all have.
So let's talk about for a second. about your history here. I know you. Most of everybody listens to me knows they have a conviction that before you believe the messenger, you've got to before the messenger ever matters, you've got to believe the messenger. So tell us, how did you get started this real quickly, and tell us a little your background. So what qualifies you to be the expert communicator that you are, and why it's so critical to become that expert communicator when you're on the phone with somebody or even in person. Let's talk about your history.
Yeah, for sure. So, like most realtors, I started out in the food business. And I actually started out in the fast food business. So when I was 21, 22 years old, I ran 30 Bojangles. And then the next 2 years after that, I ran 150 Taco Bells. Throughout my journey, I did commercial real estate, and I had one of my best friends was one of the top realtors in Charleston. So I asked him, I said, the food business has been fun. However, is there a spot on your team? And he said, well, unfortunately, you got to have experience. And, however, I've got a spot to work the phone. So that is how it started. We literally did 3 to 5 hours of role plays a week, coaching with 2 different national coaches, and about 5 to 8 hours on the phone for a year and some change, 6 days a week.
Wow.
And taking calls from 8, 9, 10 at night, and really setting about 18 med appointments a week. So I got started, unlike a lot of people, just literally cold calling. Here's a list of 1,000 people, and that's what I did every day.
Wow. That's incredible.
And there were times that were rough. I'm not going to lie.
What'd you say,
Ellis,
Carey?
you definitely put the capital H in hustle when it came to that. To think about cold calling 1,000 people, talking about cold calling for new folks, there is sometimes that fear of cold calling. How did you overcome that fear? How did you do that?
Everyone always asks me that. And one of the biggest parts of prospecting is getting over the fear of rejection. We all have that fear. However, just like when we were, courting people back in the day, you got to get over that fear in order to accomplish a lot. So really the key is practice and failing hard. And that's one of the greatest things about our weekly role plays is not only do you get a chance to practice in front of 60 people, you got a chance to fall in front of 60 people. So when you can overcome that, one person's no problem.
I love that stretch there. That's absolutely true. If you can stretch yourself to feel comfortable in front of 30 to 60 people on our Zoom calls, then one person, no matter how ugly they might be, is nothing. It's no big deal.
Oh, yeah. And when you're doing a Zoom call and you got different screens flashing on you and other people kind of talking, dogs barking in the background, it's a whole other experience because you never know when you're going to be setting that appointment.
Growing up, I always, with a dad that was really so helpful in my success, but he would talk about, practice makes perfect, right? Practice makes perfect. And being a mom now to a 7-year-old, we kind of changed that to practice builds confidence, right? Practice builds confidence. And that's one thing that we can do. And I love that, Ellis, because you're right. We are going to have a good day. We're going to have a bad day. We're going to totally fail. We're going to say happy Thanksgiving when it's happy Easter. I mean, there are things we're just going to do that are just quite embarrassing, but you continue. And the more you do that, you build that confidence, that just continues to have you soar through. I love that. Practice, practice, practice.
One thing I want to add here is it's no secret that I love baseball, right? And so I relate everything.
You figure out how to get baseball in this some way.
I mean, I will. I'll weave it in. Just like at home, they weave in musicals at home in every dinner situation. I'll weave in baseball somehow. But it's just like baseball in the fact that you start the season by practicing, and then you even have practice games. You don't just go up to the plate to swing, right? Well,
wow, what a great analogy. Well, so true.
Even when you do, guess what? You still have practice between games, don't you?
That's right.
So it's not that you practice and then you don't practice anymore and you're just playing. No, you practice constantly because you're always trying to get better.
How many times have we told our agents, look, don't practice on your clients. Know what the questions are before you have to look for the answers because you've been practicing away from before you ever got to a client.
Right. And that's what these role plays are that he's doing for us. And I love that.
Understanding. Go ahead, please.
Oh, and it's not just about practice, it's about perfect practice and practicing perfect.
Right.
And that's why, we take pauses and we really highlight the awesome things that people are saying, because what happens is through all these role plays, that natural talent and that natural conversation happens, because at the end of the day, we're all real estate professionals and we know the right questions that have to be answered in order for us to best assist.
I was I got to tell you, your last class with us, Ellis, just honestly, I've been around this thing a long time. I've sold thousands of homes personally. I've never been as equipped as I'm learning to be now with these. First of all, understanding the sequence that you shared, and then understanding the wraparound, and understanding the importance of asking how are you looking at homes, and the critical question of, so which real estate professional have you chosen to help you with the home buying process? I was at a onboarding recently with several of the new agents coming on, and I said, this is such critical information, guys. I can't tell you, I can't overstate the value of internalizing this information that Ellis is sharing with us, because it'll go from being a Pop-Tart responding to whatever is happening on the phone to a professional directing the outcome of that conversation more times than not. And because I know personally, and everybody in that room that day, shook their head yes when I said, when you get on a phone call with a buyer or a seller, how often do you end up being Pop-Tart? How often do you being the person that's answering the questions and not having any clear direction of where that conversation's truly going to go, because you don't have a sequence in mind, you don't have these key elements. You might have some ideas to keep the conversation going, and the one who's talking, the least is winning, and all those kind of basic things, but I've never seen a more clear, concise, step-by-step sequence than you have been sharing with our team, and you're empowering us, brother, and I really appreciate that.
Well, don't keep the secret, Ellis. We need to know what the sequence is, so share the sequence.
For the next show, next episode.
For the next episode. Well, and I really appreciate you pointing that out, and that's why my coaching differs from a lot of people in the fact that, for me, it's every part of the call is important. The location's important, the price, the requirements, the status, have they chosen that real estate professional? All of these things matter. And when you really focus on getting each part of the sequence right, your client feels, first off, heard, because that's what we all want. We all want to be heard and understood. And then by essentially assumptive transitioning, you move on to the next thing. And by the end of that 10-minute call, they know you, you know them. And not only do they know you, but they know you as a real estate professional. And that's what we teach.
You right out of the box, when we first met, you differentiated between somebody who opens up doors or a professional real estate, individual. When Jason first became part of the team, he said, Monty, right out of the box, he said, there's a big difference between agents and professionals. There's a big difference. And you have piggybacked on that same concept. There's a big difference between somebody who goes out and open doors because somebody says, I want that door opened, or someone who is a professional bringing added value and added clarity, and added opportunity to really serve these people and watch them become committed to you as their professional for the rest of their life. And that's where the job security is in our industry, is that ongoing business and those referrals. And by differentiating yourself out of the box of not just being an agent, not just being a door opener, but being a professional, it makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, yeah, Monty, believe it or not, 90% of people don't use the realtor they used with the last transaction. And the only thing I can chalk that up to is because either there was something that happened after the sale, or you weren't there to be their resource for life, which is one thing that Carey Ann does a great job of, to communicate, let them know about refi opportunities. And for us, letting people know about, hey, your neighbor sold for this, and this is how much equity you have, and really letting people know what's going on in the business.
That's amazing. So how do I start? You speak of a sequence, and you speak of, knowing a lot about where the location is and this and that. Is it a 1, 2, 3 step? Is it a 2-step? What kind of sequence?
It's a little bit of a jig in there, I think.
It's a little bit of a jig. Well, no, so it is kind of a start of a sequence. So essentially, not to give too much away, however, in the same respect, whenever someone calls, what do they always want, Carey Ann?
They want you to pick up.
Well, they want you to pick up the phone, but they also want to know the bedroom, bathroom, square footage, the last time the property was sold. Well, guess what? That's all available right on that same page that they called your phone number on. So really for us, it's focusing in on the process. So when anyone ever calls you, the first thing you say is, oh, great, I'm looking up that information now. What's got you looking for homes? That is the step one of the sequencing. Okay.
So simple. I think sometimes too we make it so complicated, right? I mean, So what's got you looking for a house, right? Such a simple intro.
Something like what's going on in your life that's got you looking for a home. I mean, that's what I use, and that's what he. That's one area we're on the same target with. But after that, he left me in the dust. After that.
So really, at the end of the day, it's all about the client. So really, one thing is that we really focus on different personality types, because different personality types have different things that are important to them. Such as for a family man and Ed, talking about the neighborhood, talking about the security. So what is it that really attracted you to this home? And that's really the next sequence is, what's got you looking for homes and what attracted you to this one? Because at the end of the day, remember, they called you on that one home. So you don't want to ignore the reason why they called. However, you want to make sure that you're best advising. So it's, what's got you looking for homes and what essentially got you to call me on this home today? Or what really interests you?
Carey Ann, think about this for a second. You're a master at the disc profiling. How he or she answers that question about that home, the language that they use is going to tell a professional a lot about what personality type they are, so that you can speak to them in their language, in their love language.
Exactly.
So if they list the 5 things and they go down the long list of all that, that's that certain personality that likes lists. Is that what you're kind of referencing? Or if they're coming out just a straightforward gung-ho, that they're more of that deep personality. Is that kind of what you're speaking of?
Correct. How they answer that question.
Right. And then, after you go through what they attract you to this home, it's okay. Well, perfect. So to make sure I understand you and loop it all up, you're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in an up and coming neighborhood. Tell me what.
That was the wraparound, by the way.
Yeah. And that's the wraparound. Then you say, is this going to be a cash purchase, Carey Ann, or would you like some mortgage resources? I'm not asking you for pre-approved.
Now, Carey Ann,
if anyone says that, you slap them.
So let's pause there for a second, Ellis, because I hope all of our real estate professional friends out there listening right now who recognize the value of having the best of the best in the industry, in mortgage business industry, in your corner, learn this so that you can help control the outcome here. Because remember, part of what you're bringing to the table for those. For every chance you get to work for a buyer seller is your expertise. Part of your expertise should include the right players, the right team players that are going to make this a smooth process. There's not a more important part of that transaction than the mortgage part of it. So can we say that again, Ellis? Can you ask that question again? Because I love, first of all, it starts with, is this going to be a cash purchase? Okay, right away. I think that's a compliment to the individual. They're possibly able to pay cash. Go ahead, Ellis. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, no, that is one of the main reasons why I say it. I can't tell you. I actually consult with Zillow a little bit, and I can't tell you how many phone calls I listen to within the first 30 seconds. They ask if you're pre-approved. You have no rapport, and what even gives you the right to ask about somebody's financials? So Correct. At this point of the call, after you've really identified pretty much the home, right? So it's really what resources can we offer? So, Monty, is this going to be a cash purchase, or would you like some financing options or mortgage resources?
Yeah, well, I won't be able to pay cash, so I guess I need some finance resources.
Perfect. Most of my clients find it extremely beneficial to speak to a mortgage professional as to make sure it's not just about the payment range, it's to make sure the HOA cost is figured in, insurance. I just want to make sure that we're setting you up for success. Make sure you've really honed in on that price range. Can you appreciate that, Monty?
Now, Carey Ann, I want you to hear that, okay? I want you to hear that. Do you have, as a consumer, do you have greater confidence in those words, the way they were put in with the conviction they were, and the pre-assumption that he's done this many, many times before, and that he must have a hell of a mortgage person in his corner to speak so confidently to and have such a track record with? I mean, honestly, I get excited about this because I believed the messenger. Let me say it that way. Again, I believed the messenger when he talked about most of my clients find it really helpful for me to share with them my mortgage resources. I mean, all of a sudden he's got gold that I want to know about. I mean, I love that.
Right. Right. And then the mortgage resources, it's not a confrontational thing. As in, most people will show up and say, hey, I'm just confirming our appointment. Hey, the listing agent said you got to be pre-approved. Are you pre-approved? When they didn't even ask them if they even needed a resource.
Right.
That's our job.
Yeah, one thing that he's doing in this language of sales is that he's building the rapport, but also building the confidence. Mm-hmm. And you have that short window to do that. And I think that's where he's sharing this this mastery of sorts with us. And once you learn these things, you're gonna have more opportunities because people want to do business with people that they trust.
I mean, just hearing that, if that was the first time I'd ever heard that from Ellis, I would say, you know what? I think I can trust this guy. I think I believe the messenger, so the things he's going to say are going to matter.
Well, it comes across so professional too. As in, you're not just the way that you're speaking, you have experience in that, right? So right there, just by the way you're wording your sentences is not, fast cat or, used car salesman type. It's very thought through and professional like that already puts you in a different world. Like we're talking agent versus professional. So yes, awesome.
Right. And so then the next part of the sequence wraps it all back around. So, Carey Ann, I can appreciate that you like your own information, so I'll send that to you right after. You're awesome. And really, after that, it's how are you looking for homes right now? And really, at the end of the day, the idea and premise, as we are all realtors, we all have some awesome CRMs, we have some awesome IDX feeds. Well, get them off of Zillow. It's only right 60% of the time anyway. Get them on your portal. So how are you looking for homes right now? And after the how are you looking for homes, you can ask about the open houses. And then Monty's favorite question, which real estate professional have you chosen to help you with the process? And so that kind of goes into that. And so that's what I mean by sequencing. It's one thing kind of means something to the other. And what happens is the prospect never feels overwhelmed. They feel like it's a very, very fluid conversation where not only are they being heard, but their questions are being answered while not the agent talking the whole time.
And they probably have met a professional real estate person who has suddenly earned a level of respect that they may not be used to all the time. That's what I felt.
Right.
Man. I mean, honestly, that's what I felt.
So when I text message people, at the end of my text message, I say, thank you for the privilege to assist. Because at the end of the day, it really is a privilege, and they really could choose a lot of different realtors. However, they've chosen the real estate professional to help them with their goals. And that's what we're here to do.
Because they learned there's a difference between a real estate agent and a real estate professional, right?
That's
Jason?
true. Yeah.
There's a difference.
And people feel that
once
they talk to different agents. I mean, they're going to pick up on that.
Absolutely.
Really quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we all turn the key the same way, guys. So it's not like I turn the key any different than Monty. However, it's what happens when we get in the door. For buyer tours, the first thing we do, if we haven't met before, is we go over market stats. I want to make that buyer the most educated buyer on the market and also see the value that I'm not just here to open the door. I'm here to educate them and help them with the process.
So before we go any further here, I'd really like to put a plug in here for you, Ellis, to how do we, I mean, are we going to, I'm sorry, we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I'd really love the listeners here to have some more to listen to learn from you at one of our coming training sessions here at Realty One Group Music City. I think it'd be well worth the effort.
Ellis JV Team Marketing Master.
We got all kinds of things happening here on this call. I love it. Monty,
I think we lost
brought the band with
Ellis.
you. We got music. We got all kinds of things.
I'm sorry.
We're teaching dance classes. We got it all. I love it.
Uh-oh. Now we lost Carey Ann.
I think.
I love it. There we go. We're back. People want to call me. What are they doing calling me? I love it. You know, Ellis, just by getting my privilege to
Ellis
having
is
the
not on.
opportunity-
Hold on one second.
We lost Ellis?
Yeah, we lost him.
Well, for everybody out there, I have been able to grant and get to meet Ellis, you know, just over the last month. And for somebody that's not even in real estate, but in the lending profession, you know, it's all about asking those right questions and then taking a pause and just stop talking.
Right.
And listen, you know, it was huge. I watched a Zoom call and it was a interesting call, and it was 4 people on the call, and I watched it to help educate myself on it and then train off of it. And what I heard in that call, which was so interesting, is everybody was just talking over one another, and there was no time, nobody was breathing, and nobody was pausing to listen to the other. Because I'm like, you all are talking in circles. If you all just took a moment to pause, listen, grasp the data, and then, you know, move with it, you could have already gotten off this call, you know, in 15 minutes versus 2 hours type of thing. But that's one thing I love about Ellis is learning those questions that are so strong on the upfront that allows your consumer to be able to answer with so much information, you know? So I love that. Even for me, it made me realize that some of the things he said, I can pick and choose and add those into my scripts as well. So he does a great job and he's so professional and so experienced in those scripts. And people are like, I don't want to use scripts. Scripts are, you know, people that are work in a used car salesman, you know, profession. Scripts are huge, right? It's all about how you do it. You get to a place where your eyes are closed and you can say that script for that obstacle and this script for that obstacle, and it becomes so smooth. And then you add the sprinkle of, like you said, this is a C personality or D personality. You add that sprinkle of a little bit of personality and or individuality type of thing to it as well. So the great stuff, Ellis. Is he back with us?
No, not yet. But to your point, what you're saying, that's what we teach people is to take these, internalize and personalize. Internalize these scripts, and then you wrap yourself around it and you personalize it. And, you know, that's where the authenticity comes into play, and people will believe that. I mean, they will pick out scripted calls all day long. I mean, I can't stand to be scripted.
I turn them down all day long when I get a call like that, you know, because it's not, you know.
Hilarious. Okay. So I love having a listing expire. Okay, this is hilarious, right? So I had a listing expire because it's just not the right time to sell it. And it's only a piece of land, and not to say anything different, but it's a piece of land, right? It's raw land out in the woods. It's not really the time to sell that. Monty would say it's always the right time. However, you know, it's not the right time. So no joke, I'm ready. Like I'm waiting, right? I'm like, all of a sudden I'm getting these calls because it's now on the expired list, right? And you hear that here comes the script, literally, right? They're trying to script through it. And then they're like, I'm calling you because you have a home to sell. And I was like, I don't have a home to sell. Like they didn't even do homework. You know, I'm like, if you're going to script your sayings, at least know what you're actually calling to try to earn my business on. You know what I'm saying? It was just so comical. And so I say that for you, the listeners, not to do that. Like if you're going to know it's an expired, you know, make sure you actually have the right address and or know what type of home or piece of land it is, you know, that kind of thing. So
credibility factor is a little bit in jeopardy there if you don't.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where the script, and you and I both have received those voicemails too, that you just have to save and show your spouse or bring it to the office the next day, because it's so funny because it's so scripted, you know, like, you know, it's a scripted voicemail, you know, and you kind of hear the paper too, you know, you know, and so to get to a place where, it's like singing a song. You do it in the shower, you constantly, and you get so fluid with that. I love that, fluid, and it's effortless to be, and then you're just having a conversation, but you always ask those 3 questions. I love that. That's great.
Carey Ann, I think one of the things that makes the reason I like Ellis so much is because, first of all, it's the whole foundation of his presentation is, look, guys, just have a great conversation.
Yep.
The goal is to have a great conversation. In the midst of that great conversation is the awareness of a sequence that's going to be beneficial to both parties if you're the professional that you claim to be. If you're not, then go ahead and keep doing what you're doing, okay? Maybe it's working better. But if you are the professional that you want to be and that you're working hard to become, and you're coming from the right place from your heart to serve these folks, then, and you've learned these things, then now you owe it to the consumer to convey that conviction in a way that is going to help both, because it becomes a win-win situation. Then you're being an asset. They're not falling in the hands of somebody who doesn't have their best interest at heart, and they're just playing agent, to a professional who knows what they're doing and knows why they're doing it, and is going to do it with a level of integrity that these folks are never going to forget about that professional as long as they're ever in the home buying or selling process. So that's part of the conviction that I get from Ellis. Just have a great conversation, and then have that structure, that outline, and a wraparound, and how are you looking for? I mean, just each one of those key elements. So, but anyhow, I love that guy.
Yeah.
We're having him again, this week and next week, and if somebody is listening that's interested in hearing more about Ellis, I apologize, we lost him. He's on the road right now, actually coming to Nashville. He lives in I think Charlotte. Yeah, he lives in Charlotte, and on his way here, he's going to hold a training here for us this Thursday, and he comes back and forth regularly. It's part of the added value that Realty One Group brings our agents, is that kind of cutting-edge information, which we're so grateful for.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I always learn so much from Ellis, and so I hope folks took a few notes today. I took some as well. I can always learn one. It only takes one new idea to make a difference in your business, right? And so
Amen, sister.
I'm hopeful that even those quick little questions will do that for you in your business. So thank you, everybody, for joining in for another amazing podcast. Jason, we just appreciate you sticking with us here every week. We hope that you join us next week for another episode of the Talk of Music City. And for more podcasts, please check out talkofmusiccity.com. We'll see you next week.
Amen. See y'all later.